Social distancing at the chamber. Garrick Taylor here for Happy Hour with Hammer, the CEO of the chamber, Glenn Hammer. Hey, Glenn.
Hey, Garrick.
Glenn, it's the day after, the night before. It's post-primary. I thought we were going to do a little punditry and analysis, but there's 100,000 something ballots still need to be counted. How about we just say there's a lot of races that are close and we'll come back to it?
I feel comfortable doing that. It's just there's too many races, too close to call. We'll have a better picture, hopefully.
There he is. Yeah, we'll have a better picture soon enough. All right. Arizona, well represented today at the Oval Office, sat down with the president, and Dr. Birx did Governor Ducey and his aide, Gretchen Conger. I think we know her. We've heard of her.
Wow. And could we just first start by saying that was epic, the way Gretchen Conger handled. She was questioned by the President of the United States, and I don't believe that was part of the script, and handled herself. It was beautifully. It was beautifully done.
Well done. We are all proud of that kid from Morenci. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Glenn, Arizona's mitigation efforts to stem the spread of COVID-19 were highlighted today by the president and Dr. Birx. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about that, followed up with you sent out a highly charged, controversial tweet saying, isn't it nice to be recognized, Arizona to be recognized for its efforts? And your critics came out of the woodwork. So why don't you talk about those two items?
Yeah, this is good news. So let me first start by saying is that no one has done everything perfectly, and it is extraordinarily tragic that almost 4,000 Arizonans have died and over 150,000 across the United States. It's tragic. We have all known. I know people who've gotten sick. I know people, not directly, but people, good friends who have lost loved ones. So I want to know. I want people to know that this is serious. This is a deadly, contagious virus, which is why I believe we've been on record forever saying wear a darn mask if you can't socially distance. But here's the reality: in Arizona, in the United States, any place in the world, is the people on this planet. I'm not talking about Martians. I'm talking about Earthlings. Are not going to stay locked up forever. Doesn't matter where you are. And that goes times 2, times 3, times 4 for young people. So you have to figure out a way that you can coexist with this very dangerous virus. Every state, including Arizona, had some degree of a lockdown. And every state, including Arizona, had some reopening. Every state. Red state, blue state, purple state. The key here is how you reopen. And did we get it exactly right when we started that process? We didn't. We didn't have the mitigation measures in place that we probably should have. And there were activities such as people going to bars and lounges where I would argue that there were some loopholes, and those were taken advantage of, to be polite. But the bigger part of that equation was just human nature. Young people, not Donald Trump voters, not part of the Rush Limbaugh crowd, people that are going to vote for Joe Biden, vote probably for the Democratic Party or more liberal candidates. And I'm not just saying it was just Democrats. There's plenty of Republicans who wanted to get out and about. But it was Americans who decided after 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks cooped up and not being able to enjoy the social activities that they have enjoyed and taken for granted their whole lives, that they went out in big numbers in adult congregations, and not just in bars, but in neighborhood barbecues and graduation parties and you name it. So we had a problem in Arizona, an extraordinarily serious problem, where our hospitals were filling, our ICUs were darn close to capacity. So what happened? The governor worked with Dr. Deborah Birx, who's not a political hack. She was, I believe, had a very high level position with President Obama, and working with the White House came up with a set of mitigation strategies that have worked. Yeah, they have worked. I'm saying that unapologetically, they have worked. And Dr. Deborah Birx reiterated something today that Governor Ducey mentioned a week or two ago on a business call, is that the mitigation efforts we put in place, and those included shutting down the bars and the nightclubs, pausing them, the fitness centers, limiting restaurant capacity, and then doing sort of the core four for individuals: wear a mask, socially distance, proper hand hygiene, stay home when sick, and I'll even add fifth, don't congregate with a lot of other adults. You do those things, it's equal to a stay-at-home order. And what have we found weeks later, month plus later? That's actually right. You take a look at every indicator in Arizona, and it's going in the right direction. Except, yes, people are still dying, and that's tragic. But unfortunately, this is a deadly pandemic, and it's going to be impossible for some time to get to zero. But we're certainly on the right trajectory. So the governor's invited to the White House so that this model that we have in Arizona can be used in the 30 or so other states where we still are seeing an increase. So sorry for the long-winded answer, but I think it was important just to give the context here.
Arizona highlighted it as an example of a positive mitigation strategy, or a mitigation strategy that is working. What I did not hear today at the Oval Office, Glenn, and I've not heard the governor say this, I've not heard you say this, is that now the time is just to go out and celebrate in the streets and go gather in a poorly ventilated room with hundreds of your closest friends. I don't think anyone's saying that.
We're certainly not saying that, and we've been working, we'll probably roll it out tomorrow or next week. We're working on a program with the Arizona Medical Association, with the top doctors, on how we could get these best practices, these mitigation protocols ingrained and change our culture in a permanent way. This is a deadly, serious disease. And but again, we need to live with it. And, if we could transition to what's going on with some of the reopening activity, if your position is we just need to close down, that means let's close the dentist down, no more elective surgeries. Our 3 universities will go bankrupt. Let's close them down. Yeah. And let's, forget about the damage that is done for kids, particularly lower income at-risk kids, special needs kids, by never having a path to get back to school. I'm sorry, that's too much. And it stinks. It is terrible. It is tragic that we have COVID-19. But we still have to figure out how we can get to the other side until we have great therapeutics and a vaccine in a way that mitigates a lot of the other damage that is occurring by people not participating in activities like healthcare, like education.
All right, let's talk about education. The other day, through the Chamber's Twitter account, we were sharing with our public universities' own tweets of what they're doing to make their campuses safer. And one of those short videos was from Arizona State, things like being able to allow a student to attend a class virtually or in person. If you attend in person, you've got to wear a mask. Where on campus you have to wear a mask, in the dorms, that sort of thing. Okay, well, that was just the magic of videotape. You saw it with your own eyes today. You were on campus. What did you see, and what impressions did you walk away with?
Well, it's very different. I've got my ASU shirt. I'm proud of my daughter, who will be starting ASU in a few weeks. I did my law school at ASU, undergrad at Cornell. To get admitted to Cornell and start classes, I had to pass a swim test because they have a lot of lakes and gorges and things like that. My daughter had to take and pass a COVID-19 test. So she did. She took that yesterday. She spit into a vial. They ran the test. She's negative, so she could start. And they're doing that for all the kids. Right. What I saw is, something that's very well organized. People are wearing masks. There's signs all over the dorms and the campus for socially distancing. I hope it works, Garrick. I credit Dr. Crow, Dr. Robbins, Dr. Chang for the presidents of our three major universities for trying to do at least a hybrid of experience. So my daughter will be at campus, and I'll just say that I'm trying to reconcile the positions of some that really don't want K through 12 in person for quite some time with what's going on in our universities. And I understand there's different issues with teachers and support staff in terms of the danger of the disease. So we do not want to force any human being to do anything that they're not comfortable with, period. But teenagers in a dorm at a university, to me, poses some challenges that are different and to some extent more challenging in terms of at least younger kids with respect to the virus. But I give our universities credit for trying, and I sure hope, as particularly as a dad, that the effort succeeds.
That's interesting, though, that we saw in the preview video that we've been sharing on social media that the student, if he or she wants to attend remotely, they can do that. But you were saying that on campus you saw lots of signage, and you saw I realize you weren't there all day, but a pretty broad acceptance of wearing masks on campus?
Most were wearing masks, not all. It was 112 degrees. So, I mean, there still needs to be, it needs to be 100%. So it wasn't perfect. I'll say that again, this is my personal feeling.
Sure.
I hope it works. I don't know. I know that the university is doing everything it possibly can. The testing, the social distancing, all the messaging. And my hope is that it's like what we saw in some of the big box retailing, is that they sort of set the standard, and a lot of that behavior, the wearing masks, the social distancing, I think has helped us outside of the commercial setting. My hope, with my chamber hat, my dad hat on, is that we'll have the same experience at the university level. And I'm not going to get into details, but I just hope my daughter's a lot more mature than I was at 18. I hope.
Well,
I'll leave it at that.
Around the chamber water cooler, this is interesting though, because you had, we used this word when we were talking about the K-12 space, flexibility, hybrid models, different scheduling options, things like that. Well, we're actually going to try it in real life at the higher ed level and see if it works. Glenn, you were saying there's a chance that young Glenn Hammer might have liked attending class online. So it might work for certain students. It might even work better than in person for some students.
I probably would have attended online. However, I want to make it clear, I would have still enjoyed being on campus.
Got it. Fair enough. I think more options in this time period that we're living in, the better. And as we've seen with some regulatory changes, some of these things will stick around, and it's for the better.
It's for the better. And, I also just think, let's say the universities didn't reopen and have this experience. Well, kids are still going to do something.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can get the right, they're definitely the ASU video that you alluded to is it's exceptionally well done. And if people follow it, this should work.
Yeah.
Not 100%, but this should work and be a good model for how we could go about living in other settings. So let's certainly, a lot of preparation. I admire our college presidents. We probably never have had three such excellent heads of our major universities. So I'm optimistic that this will work. But I do think there is a little bit of an inconsistency for some who are more of we really can't open our K through 12 system for many, many months, and don't have that same sort of view, so to speak, when it comes to our universities. I just say that I would love to understand the distinction.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, last topic, and it'll be a short one, Glenn. We've been talking about the need to get a deal done on Capitol Hill. I thought you would appreciate this quote or this tweet from a reporter at the Washington Post. He said, "This is what sources are saying. There's a possibility they reach a deal this week. Alternatively, they could also not get a deal. If they don't, they could try again for a deal next week. They could also not try to get a deal the following week. Hope this helps." Glenn, there's no news today. I thought that we would discuss the final package. We're not, but they need to get a deal done.
So I have much greater confidence that there will be a vaccine available for millions of Americans by the end of December than a deal getting struck this week. Seriously. Now, within the next couple weeks, there will be a deal. We had a great webinar, and Laura Siscomani is just becoming just a producer extraordinaire with Dr. George Hammond from the University of Arizona today. And he was very effective in making the case that two of the main pillars of the original CARES Act, the extended top-up, the extension and expansion of unemployment benefits and the top-up, have injected thus far over $8 billion into our state's economy. And that the Paycheck Protection Program, which has been a lifeline for over 80,000 small businesses in Arizona, has injected about the same into our economy. Yep. And that's somewhere about 4% of Arizona's GDP. That's a lot. And his point was, if Congress really needs to continue both of those in some form or fashion. So I do believe they will get a deal done, but it seems that they're taking the scenic route, so to speak, in doing so.
Hey, Glenn, I didn't mean to go down this road, but Senator Portman was on the floor the other day, and he mentioned the McSally plan to do a temporary unemployment extension while we work this deal out. On its face, that seems like a good deal, but the Senate Democrats don't want to take it. Look, I'm asking you to put your pundit hat on. Is it just politics and that's it, or is there some policy reason that we're not going to take that deal?
Well, as we get closer to the election, unfortunately, politics are going to play more and more of a role. There should be some sort of extension. I would have to go back, probably not in the very far way back machine. There are a lot of examples of continuing resolutions and things like that, right, where the Congress and the administration, even if they're different parties, even if they're opposed on some big issues, they come together and say, we'll patch things over. We'll keep the status quo until we can get a deal. So I would certainly support what Senator McSally is doing. I would support any activity by any United States senator or member of Congress, regardless of power, that keeps some of these critical lifelines going while they negotiate a final deal. Now, I do think there needs to be reform to the unemployment insurance program, but there does need to be a federal top up. And I thought, Governor Ducey's letter to the delegation, which I think included liability reform, but really had a focus on unemployment insurance, made it clear, let's have it at least at wage replacement. People a lot of Arizonans have lost their job through no fault of their own. And, again, I'm also working backwards, Garrick. I really do think we're going to have great therapeutics very soon and a vaccine that'll be available for millions of Americans by the end of the year. So if we could just continue to patch things along, the economy has a decent chance of restarting. It may not be a perfect V, but it'll be a pretty nice comeback.
Yeah. And for our dozens of viewers, this was not meant to be a rabid political statement, but I think, like Glenn said, I just put in the bucket of when you extend a highway bill or you do a continuing resolution. I didn't think it was anything more than that, and I guess it's disappointing that we haven't been able to just get another week out of this.
It's generally that type of thing is nothing to see here. It's been done. It's been done quite often. Yeah. It's a nice way, in good faith, to keep people whole or to not disrupt what people or businesses have come to rely on while you negotiate broader issues. So Garrick, they're going to get a good deal done. it's unfortunate that the process sometimes gets messy, but I would hope, though, if it does stall out a little bit more, that some sort of bipartisan, at least temporary patch on things like UI would be in there, because there's a lot of Arizonans and a lot of Americans who are really hurting, and again, it's through zero fault of their own.
Yep. All right. Well said, Glenn. We will catch you on the next one. And if you tuned in for election results, hit refresh. We're waiting just like everybody else. All right.
Tomorrow or Friday.
Yeah. All right. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right.